Hello everyone. So we have a polynomial that we like to factor and divide. So let's start with the first part. So we have this polynomial and we like to factor. So this is a third degree polynomial and we may use the rational root theorem, but let's try not to use it unless we really need it. And this is four terms. Maybe it's good to try finding two factors to see if we can get these guys. So let's try that first. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and start writing two parentheses, assuming that is factorable, because we are told that's factor the polynomial, so which is possible, I guess. And this is 7, and I'd like to find the factor of 7 and then x cubed as well. So I could take like 7x and x squared, so I can get 7x cubed, or I can multiply 7x squared by 1x. But at the same time, in one of my multiples, I should have x to the second power, meaning if I take this guy, as 7x and x squared, I probably don't get 42 as the coefficient of the square term because this is negative 12, which doesn't look like we will get that big number. So I should multiply 7 by a divisor of this number so we can get 42 as well. So which is why I hope that makes sense, but I'm just imagining what that looks like when I factor and then multiply and then to get these guys. Okay, so which is why I will go ahead and start with 7x to the second power instead of 7x. Okay, let me repeat one more time why I choose 7x to the second instead of 7x to x squared, because I will multiply 7x squared by the number right here, so I can get this guy. So if I multiply 7x by, I don't know, like say x, that will be 7x squared. I mean, 7x times x squared, that will be 7x cubed. That will be first term. But to get this guy, I need to multiply the 7x, if this wasn't x squared, by the number right here. And I need to multiply this number by right here, so I can get this one. But this is like 12 if you consider the factors. So it doesn't look like we are going to be able to achieve this guy. So which is why 7x squared and x is good choices. So to get minus 42x squared, I'd like to multiply this guy by the 6, because that is the only way to get the second degree expansion, because this is first degree. When you multiply the number right here, you get first degree. So only way to get this, multiplying this term by the number right here, so that will be 6. But to get minus, I should have minus 6. Okay, so 7x squared times x is the first term. 7x squared times negative 6 will be this guy. And I should get 2x. So I can multiply x by 2. So that looks like this is 2. Let's confirm 2 times negative 6 is negative 12. So if you expand them, you actually get all these four terms. And now we are done. So this is something we can try. But as you see, this wasn't too simple to actually figure those two binomials from the given polynomial. So that's why maybe we can do something else. Okay, this is the first one, but when you have four terms, like, or even number of terms, usually grouping is another choice that we like to see if that's possible. And then we have 742, so these two numbers are divisible by 7. And then when you divide by 7, that will be 1 and 6. So I do have 2 and 12, which looks like divisible by 2. That will be 1 and 6 as well. So which looks like good. So I can combine these two and combine these two. If I pull 7 out of the first two terms, and I get x cubed and x squared, but those two actually also divisible by x to the second power. So I'm just taking a common divisor of the first two terms, which looks like 7 times x to the second power. So when I take two x's as a factor, so you have one more x, so that should be inside of parentheses. When you multiply this by x, you actually get the first term. And if you divide the second term by the 7x squared, so that will be minus 6 only, right? So that looks like minus 6. If you multiply 7 by 6, that will be 42, but that's minus, so that will be minus 42. X squared, it will be this guy. Okay, we are good. But in order for me to use the grouping, I need to get x minus 6 in the second part. If I don't, I can't continue from there. Which is, we are lucky, because if you take a look at these two, we have 2's that we can pull out. If I pull 2, so that will be x and minus 6 as well. 2 times x will be 2x. 2 times minus 6 is 12. So that is good. Okay, minus 12. And now we have the x minus 6 and then x minus 6, right? So I can pull this guy and this guy as a common factor. So if I pull this guy as a factor, so I will have 7x squared and then plus this number, which is 2. And if you remember, this is exactly what we have. So it's just the other way around, which doesn't make any difference. So because like we multiply 2 by 3 or 3 by 2, that's the same thing. It's the same as the expression as well. So I can write this first or this first, doesn't matter. So we got the answer. So again, you may use the rational root theorem if you know. If you don't, then this is already good. All right, okay. So for the last part, it says divide the polynomial by x minus 5. Okay, so let's try the long division. You can use the synthetic division as well, but I'll use the long division first, okay? So the 7x cubed and minus 42x squared plus 2x minus 12. And then I'll divide this by x minus 5. So first thing that I need to ask, what I need to multiply x by so I can get 7x cubed. So that should be 7x to the second power. Because if I multiply this by x, I will get this guy. So 7x squared times x will be 7x cubed. And then multiply negative 5 by this, that will be minus 35x squared. So again, we do subtract this after. So if you subtract 7x cubed from 7x cubed, these guys will cancel. And maybe I should write this minus just to kind of show. And then negative 42x squared minus negative 35x squared. So this become a plus 35. So that will be negative 7x squared. And then that will be 2x and minus 12. So now my question is what needs to be multiplied this x by so I can get negative 7x squared, right? So that will be negative 7x. If I multiply negative 7x by x, that is minus x squared, 7x squared. And then negative 7x by negative 5, that's 35, which is a plus x. And then we will take the difference again. So the difference of these two will be 0. You can make sure you kind of add that subtraction so you know what's going on. And then 2x minus 35, so that will be negative 33x, right? And then minus 12 if you bring this down. So now next question, this is the first degree and this is the first degree. So we should still continue dividing. So then if you multiply x by negative 33, so that will be useful. So that will be negative 33 x. If you multiply this by negative 5, so I should be getting 150, 165, right? So that is the next part. So, and then let's subtract those as well. If you subtract these, will cancel. And then negative 12 minus 165 would be just the negative 177. So meaning that when you divide this whole thing by x minus 5, you get a quotient of this and remainder of this. So you can just write as that thing, if you divide it by x minus 5, so that will be, let me actually write it. So the 7x cubed minus 42x squared plus 2x minus 12 is gonna be equal to this times this. So I can divide x minus 5. And then when you divide it, so you got 7x squared minus 7x minus 33, right? And then there is a remainder of 177 minus 177. So I should write plus minus 177 over what we were dividing by, which is x minus 5. The reason why we need to divide this because when you divide this whole thing by x minus 5, we were able to get exact multiple of x minus 5 by this much. And then since there's a leftover, so which means we couldn't really divide by x minus 5, this number by x minus 5, so we should leave as fraction. So I hope that makes sense. So that would be the answer. So you could just write this way, this time this plus negative 177 over x minus 5. Okay, so yeah, we can try the synthetic division as well. So let me try that as well just to be safe. In the synthetic division, we are trying to see what makes this guy 0. That's usually how we go with. That's 5. So you start with 5, right? And then you take this guy and then write the coefficient of the polynomial that you are given. That's 7. And then negative 42. And then 2 and negative 12. Okay, so, and then you bring this down, which will be 7. Multiply 5 by 7 is 35. If you add these, you will get negative 7. Okay, and then that will be 5 times negative 7 is negative 35. If you combine those, that will be negative 33. If you multiply this by this, that will be negative 165. If you combine, you get 177. So the last number we have right here is going to be remainder, which is what we have. And then these numbers are going to be coefficient of the polynomial of the quotient. So the 7 is the coefficient of the x squared, negative 7 is the coefficient of the x term, and 33, negative 33 will be constant. So as soon as you have the remainder, you start with the 0th power, 1st power, and 2nd power. If you have more numbers, you will just continue. We have only 3, so we should have this guy. I hope that makes sense. Again, if you don't really remember the synthetic division, so this may not be good to try now, but that is the synthetic division as well. Okay, so I hope that will helpful. So I'll see you next time.